Do you believe in miracles? We got Fizzle in the house. Fizzle, what's good, man? Fizzle, glad to have you here.
Let's go. This the South Harmon Podcast. Glad you here today. Hit that Patreon link if you here to stay. Dynasty best ball, that's my favorite way. 40 chess trade show. Let's make a trade today or check a AMA. You know Adam at the ATM. Mike always in the building. He gon' stay with him. They gon' start every show off with their own trade. Fantasy's a big ocean. They made their own wave. Make sure you tapping in Tuesdays and Saturdays. Tuesday night, Saturday morning, ain't no better way. Hit that notification bell when the news break. Go subscribe right now, don't get the news late. Destination Devi, that's the team. Dynasty football, man, that's my favorite thing. I remember Biggie said it was all a dream. Now people watching on their phones and computer screens. Welcome to the team. Let's start the show.
Welcome back in, everybody, to another edition of the Dynasty Trade Show. So glad you could join us. We appreciate having you. As always, though, just remember, you want your trade featured on this channel? Patreon.com/South Harmon. $1 a month gets you in the Discord to post your trades, and that's not all. The Discord is an incredible place. You got fantasy football questions, dynasty questions, Debbie questions, C2C questions, or just general questions. You want to know what the best bourbon is? That's the place to be. We're always discussing stuff in that Discord, so get your ass in there. But Adam, how you doing, buddy?
Doing
Another
well.
trade show?
Doing
How
well,
about
man.
the DJ Moore one? We record that on Sunday night. Didn't know the trade was going to pop out. What a thumbnail to have before the DJ Moore trade. Incredible. Good timing. You think we could do it again?
I doubt it, but I will try. I will do everything I can to try it. What I will say is it was funny because we record on Sunday, and I was going through, and I'm like, we were kind of messing around about Ramondre and Liam Neeson being on the thumbnail, right? And I was like looking through the trades, and I'm like, man, I don't really know what the thumbnail is. And I remember settling on DJ Moore, and the reason I say settling is because at that time it's like, this is a guy we've loved for so long, but just it seems so bland because people are just so tired, right? I'm like, you know what? We'll mix it up. We'll go DJ Moore. And then it was Thursday night, and I'm like, yeah, I should go upload the video. I told my wife. She was like, yeah, maybe you just do it tomorrow. I'm like, no, I'm just going to go do it right now. So Thursday, I go do it, upload it. So you had proof that it was done. And then Friday, the trade happened, and I told my wife that story, and she was rolling. Like, there's just no way that's possible. So, yeah, glad that the show worked out last week. We have 12 deals here to show you. We're going to start off with one of mine. But like Mike said, if you do want your deals featured on the show, patreon.com/South Harmon. That's not all that you get for $1 a month, but there's a few other tiers. You want our rankings, you want more access to us, all that stuff. We got it all.
We got to show off those rankings at some point, right? That's
we
the
will,
$5 tier, the pregame poopers, but our boy JB hooked us up. They are so clean and fresh now, the system he's got for us. We'll have to show them off on some video. Just gives people a taste. You don't get the full thing, but we'll give you a taste.
We'll give you
rankings are incredible.
2 Sundays from now, we'll give you a freemium on AMA. So, but without further ado, we will get into the trades today. Mike, let's start off with one of mine, and this is a trade, man. It's kind of interesting. This is a 12-team Superflex Best Ball League. This is actually one of the leagues that was stale that now is popping, and you saw me make multiple trades in this league, and now this is basically trade frenzy in this league. This is actually the league that I acquired Trevor Lawrence for all those picks for. This was sent to me because someone finally went to a rebuild that was in a win now mode, right? And we talk about this all the time. If you win, in which he won in the inaugural year, he now had 6 years of dues paid for, right? So he went for it last year, ended up losing in the semis in a really close game. But now the team's really hitting a point of, like, the age and the depth just isn't going to work. And he's got to rebuild, and he's doing it for free. So I saw him starting to make some moves, and I basically asked him, like, what about Russell Wilson? And I don't have any 24 first that I would send for Wilson. There's basically 2 that I would consider more early, and I told him that. And he was basically like, what about your 25 first? And I was like, done. So I'm kind of curious your thoughts on Russell Wilson, this trade, if you have a strong best ball contender. We talk about having your own liquidity so that if things go wrong down the road, you're protected. But what are your thoughts on this trade here?
The only way I push my picks in, right, is if I get home run slam dunk deals like this one. And it's not that I'm a big believer in Russ, right? I don't think it could possibly get much worse than it did last year, but maybe. But it doesn't matter, man. It's a super flex. It's a best ball. I need quarterbacks. Everybody needs quarterbacks in there when you're trying to compete at them, and you're buying one for a pick that's 2 years out. Like, it's not even a 23 first. It's not like you're trading the 108. Okay, you're trading the 25. This man has to sit on it for that long. If I'm in a rebuild, Adam, there is no way in hell I'm letting Russ go for just this in a super flex league. Right? In the one QB, it's a different story. You're like, it's quarterback.
Let me ask you this, because I think I'm curious this from you. So if you have a team that was old, and let's say it was built the wrong way, right? Like before our best ball principles. So you didn't have any depth. You won the title the first year. This year you hung around, but it's time. And
it's over. Yep, I've got a few of those hanging around.
Yep, and let's say the picks are very picked over, which they are now. There's like 3 or 4 managers that control a lot of them, and you're not able to get off of Russ. I think the goal here for Pecchio RD1 is basically I want the points off. I have my 24 first that I bought back, and I want to make sure that's Caleb Williams.
That's fair.
And now, and I'm not saying that you will take this for that. My only point is if that's your goal and you kind of understand all that point, what's the bottom dollar offer if the market's kind of already consolidated very slim?
Doesn't matter though, Adam. It's March.
No, I agree. I agree with that point too. I agree.
It's March. Like
you have till September to sell, right?
I want to get off Russell Wilson. I mean, I may even have past September. I may have till October, right? I may have till November.
Well, not if you want the 101.
I don't know, man. I've seen
this league. I've seen this league.
It depends on what he does with the rest of his roster, but it doesn't have to be Russ, and it doesn't have to be Russ in March, right?
Agreed.
We could wait until Russ comes out and, oh, shit, he looks really good with Sean Payton. He just put up 300 yards. You don't think you're getting more than a 25 first from somebody? I don't care that the picks are – the problem is, Adam, if I'm doing it now, like I want something. Scott Connor talks about this all the time, leverage. Where's the leverage, right? You're selling it for 1 pick 2 years out. He couldn't even get a dart throw.
What would you need, though? So let me ask you this. It's March. This deal was proposed or talked about. What makes it, I'll press the button now? What can you add to a 25 first? Or is a 25 first just not even in the discussion for you?
Like an early second, maybe?
So, like, let's say it's a 25 first and an early 24 second.
I mean, it'd have to be like I really want a 23 one, but
what if it's your available? What if okay, because I did have this. What if I have his 24 second, which he controlled a 101 or 201? Sorry,
Adam, I'll take your 25 first, and I'll take my second back.
Okay. Now,
if you want to buy a quarterback and you can find one, I'm not even saying Russ is good, but we can agree he's at least a top 18, however you want to rank him.
Okay,
like I'd say probably top 16, 17. At worst, but however you want to rank him, like he's a topper option. It's not like it's Ryan Tannehill, right? You're not trading for Ryan Tannehill. Russ is decent enough in a lot of people's minds, even though he had a horrible year. I mean, if you're going to find one of those guys for just a 25 first, a random one now in March, and you wouldn't give me my second back, I'd be like, well, best of luck to you on your way. You have fun with that, and you let me know if you find some other sucker.
Well, it's interesting that you go to that point, because switching gears here to why I did this, even though, like, I'll be honest, my team in this league, I control a lot of assets that give me what you're talking about that he didn't have, is leverage. And I think that's probably how a deal like this gets done, is that I'm thinking about it, right? So I had 4 quarterbacks that I feel really good about. I have Trevor Lawrence, I have Lamar Jackson, I have Trey Lance, and I have Kenny Pickett. Now, I mean, Kenny Pickett, if he's my quarterback, 1, I don't feel good, but if he's my quarterback 4, I feel very good, right?
You feel very good, yes.
And then people are probably, well, why? You don't need Russell Wilson. Well, okay, but a couple things. It's a scarce market, the quarterback position, right? So if I can control 5 of them, 1, I think we talked about this with Scott in our best ball construction series. 5 is optimal at the quarterback position. And then I don't have to worry about rostering the turds anymore. I don't have to worry about rostering Carson Wentz's or anything. I'm done.
You don't even look at him on the waiver wire, right? You don't even look at David Blau, other than to maybe cock block somebody else.
If I know I'm in the playoffs and it's like I don't want him to get anybody, sure. But to your point, so now I'm good there. But the best part is not only am I set, but if someone, which will happen, becomes needy, there's a place to shop. And the prices go up because I don't need to sell. I can keep them, and it's still optimal for my construction. This is the crazy part about Russell Wilson, though, Mike. Russell Wilson, as much as people want to hate on him last year, and, I mean, there's reasons to. He was bad. There was games that were horrible.
Right.
Okay. Spike weeks, Mike. You talk about our best ball. Speaking of patreon.com/South Harmon, you can see the spike weeks and consistency weeks for best ball.
Nice plug.
And here's the thing, Mike. Let me ask you what you think. How high is Russell Wilson in the spikes at the quarterback position without looking? No Google
He had
check.
4. He had 4 of them last week.
Last year. Wow, he knows that off the top of his head. That's pretty crazy.
Which
is correct. Which is correct. So where does that put him?
Probably top 15. Probably I'm gonna say
shoot higher.
QB. I'm gonna say QB 12.
QB 12.
On the nuts.
On the nuts.
Got him. I'm back.
So
Beard's
now
back.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. So I'm getting in a down year, his worst year ever, in spike weeks, which if you have a bunch of quarterbacks, now spikes becomes more important, right? When are they actually going to make my lineup? A top 12 guy? And it's my pick in 25?
Yeah.
There's just no way I wouldn't do this. And I think that's what's interesting about Russell Wilson is people are ready to write him off, but why? Like, that's basically his low. What if with Peyton it's a little better? Maybe it's not. Maybe he's not a top 5 quarterback, and I would never expect him to be. But like even when you go to spike weeks and consistency weeks, he's quarterback 15. So like you're giving me a high end quarterback too if he's bad again in best ball. Like that's for me on a contender. That's where I will get rid of my 25 first and figure that out later, and I'll kind of continue to close the gap on a very small market as far as quarterbacks being available. So
listen, I would pay this price for Mac Jones, and people hate Mac Jones. People hate him.
What quarterbacks would you send to 25? Your 25 first for on a strong contender right now?
Man.
Mac Jones, you said. Russell Wilson, you said. Derek Carr? Okay.
Derek Carr,
Aaron Rodgers?
Yes. Aaron Rodgers, yes.
What about Jimmy G?
I think my cutoff becomes like Matt Stafford, Brock Purdy,
Ryan Tannehill?
No.
Okay, I agree. So it's basically the aforementioned guys, Mac Jones.
And anybody above that. Like we're talking QB 25 in ADP rates. Like,
What about Kenny Pickett?
Oh yeah, for sure. My 25?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not talking a 23 109, 110.
What about Zach Wilson?
What I sent you're an ass.
I'm asking. Damn it.
Juwan Johnson.
Don't you do that. All right. So here's the best part.
Shit, another Russell deal.
I didn't even want to show mine because I kind of felt like maybe this is not actionable.
You felt embarrassed.
No, I felt like it wasn't actionable. Like is this happening across leagues? And then I was like, you know what? I feel even better because Mike, this is worse than the one I just did, I think.
It's even worse.
Do you agree? Is that worse than what I just sent?
Yes, this one, Russ or the 201. Easy, Russ. Easy. And then Elijah Moore. I'll take Elijah Moore over Khalil Herbert. And I know you and I have had our disagreements on Elijah Moore previously.
And I love Elijah Moore. It's just I'm ready to be out if I have to.
Okay. Would you take Elijah Moore or Khalil Herbert first?
Elijah Moore. In the startup, I'm taking Elijah Moore. Now here's the interesting part.
Zach's going to hate this one.
And another reason why he's on the show, don't worry. Maybe he'll make up for it. Maybe he won't, because it was a deal in the shit IDP league, our first trade to review in that league. But the reason I wanted to bring this up, so in the previous deal, right? If you're rebuilding, because this seems like you would be doing that, right? Like if I'm getting off of Russell Wilson for liquidity,
why are you getting a running back?
Well, but right, if you're getting rid of Russell Wilson for liquidity, you would think you're rebuilding. Like anyone that's any chance of contending isn't sending Russell Wilson away for 201. And if you are, you're saying I want to rebuild. Which why then are you going to Khalil Herbert?
I don't get it.
That I think is the biggest point. Like if you just told me that Elijah Moore and Khalil Herbert are off the deal, and it's the 201 and 23 versus a late 25 first, and you basically say they're the same thing, fine, right?
That's fair,
right?
That's a valid argument.
But that's where this is different, because why am I taking on Khalil Herbert?
I don't know how Beware the Hair pulled this one off too, where he was like, "Oh, by the way, I'll give you the running back in the 201. You give me the quarterback in a Superflex league, and listen, no matter what you think about Elijah Moore, I will take him over Khalil Herbert because there's a possibility. What if Aaron Rodgers does go there, right? What if they do upgrade the quarterback situation? And all of a sudden, I mean, Garrett Wilson's fantastic, but what if it's like a Devontae Adams, Randall Cobb situation? All of a sudden, Elijah Moore is like the Randall Cobb for Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
Even if it's for 1 year. You don't think with his youth, what we loved and craved and yearned about him in his rookie year, that in year 3, if he comes out and he has 1,000 yards and in 8 touchdowns with Aaron Rodgers, that his value ain't going up and people are right back in? 100% they will be. So, 12 teams, Superflex.
Not that it matters. I forgot to put that on there. Yeah, but
unless it's one QB, then we'd be having a different conversation.
Correct. Once it's Superflex, it doesn't matter. I will say, if you told me I needed to hold Herbert, like if I was buying Wilson and I'm contending, and you say like you're gonna try to make me create a case to hold on to Herbert, I guess it would be like if he becomes the starter in Chicago, and then I can move him if Montgomery's gone, right?
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah.
But like the difference from Herbert to Elijah Moore, however I cut it, doesn't matter here. Let me say that. I'd prefer Elijah Moore.
Make up for the rust for the 201 thing.
Correct. I prefer Elijah Moore. But if you're like on a contender, give me Khalil Herbert. I probably wouldn't fight you. But it doesn't matter in the realm of what we're dealing with here. So the reason I bring that up is because like maybe this is just 2 leagues, but I would check the panic on Russ in leagues. Yes. Honestly, I think actionably you can say I got over. Okay, but this is 2 leagues. Maybe it's not the case in yours, but just check the level of panic. And
listen, man, we saw these deals with on previous shows, right? We had some deals that were questionable for Lamar, and we said go check him. And there's still people still check on Lamar, but we also said go check the level of panic on Justin Fields, right? Because we saw some deals come across the table, and rightfully so, you could get them done. Not anymore. That window has been since slammed shut. But
right.
Here's another one, man. At least in the quarterback market, with the ones that I've seen and what we're talking about right now, sniff around on Russell Wilson. See what people are asking.
Because I think the big takeaway too, and I'm not sure that the rest of the show is going to go this way, but the youth movement push is just getting started, and it's for the next 2 months only getting crazier. So guys like Russ are buys. And I know, Mike, you and I had the disagreement on buying a contender right now last episode, but at the quarterback position, given the scarcity, I don't think you and I even have a discussion of argument. If you can buy Russ at the appropriate point, we're just buying.
When it's this cheap, I'm in, man.
So yeah, that's I think not really. It's a moot point. But anyway, all right. So
there's
we got
the guy. Speak of the devil.
It's almost funny. It's almost like I knew you would do that, so I put Zach up right after. And Zach made a big trade. He's a Bears fan, Khalil Herbert fan. He couldn't bear to see DJ Moore on someone else's team, so he traded for him. Mike, IDP, given the league here. So for people that don't know, this is our first IDP league we've done in South Harmon. It's 12 teams. It's Superflex. It's best ball, including IDP. So we're starting 25 players when you include offense and defense. 13 are defense, 12 are offense, but 4 of the offense are receivers. And Zach was very clear to make sure that I put this in the trade in the channel. So there it is. We start 4 receivers. That being said, Mike, 108, because of how you juice the scoring to the defense, is even better than the typical 108 because there's some really good defenders that make the picks go higher. And the 509, because of defense, becomes more intriguing than its standard 5th-round pick. So I guess my question to you is here, given all this, in the league that we're talking about here, 108 and 509 or DJ Moore, what say you?
So if we're talking a traditional league, Adam, without all this, what you just mentioned, I was asked the question the other day, after the DJ Moore trade to the Bears, where would you have him as far as rookie class would go? Like, what would you feel good with? And I would say, I told him the 106-ish. And the reason I say ish is because I kind of got to know my league, Adam. You know, I'm a big proponent of the quarterbacks in this class, the 107, the 108 whereabouts in there. Sometimes you might have those leagues with those quarterbacks, whether it's Will Levis or Anthony Richardson, or if your league's higher on those guys, maybe it's a Bryce Young or CJ Stroud is going to be the guy who's going to fall that. And in Superflex leagues, I want the quarterback. Right? And I will take any one of those rookie quarterbacks over DJ Moore just because it's Superflex. I will not take any of the wide receivers of this class. As much as I love Jackson Smith and Jigba, I'd rather have DJ Moore over him. I would say the only other 2 positions in there is Bijan, obviously, and I will put Jahmyr Gibbs ahead of DJ Moore. I would agree with that. A Jahmyr Gibbs on my team than a DJ Moore, but it was stock up for the DJ Moore trade. We talked about the last one. That's why he made the episode about maybe the 111, I think it was exactly for. And that wasn't enough for me. I think he has moved up to 106-ish, but it's going to be league dependent. This one, I will say, with that being said, this is the 108, okay? If it was a traditional league, I'd rather have DJ Moore than the 108 and the 509 if this was a league that I didn't feel good about any of those quarterbacks falling to 108, which 108 gets really sketchy on whether or not they will. Being that it's this league with these settings and what I know about what these edge rushers score and some of the ones coming out in this class, plus, like you mentioned, the 509 isn't just a turd pick, right? There's going to be some talent pushed down to the 509. We're going to have some defensive players who fall to the 509. Hell, we'll probably even have some offensive guys that we would think about drafting in the 3rd round who will be available at the 509 because the IDP scoring is so juiced. I will take the 108 and the 509 here, but I don't hate it. I don't think it's egregious. This is definitely a go-get-your guy, and I don't know whether or not Zach already has Justin Fields, if that factored into it with the stack, or he just wanted another Bear.
I like the breakdown you gave, and I think what's interesting is two things, especially for me, right? Like you already mentioned, if this is a standard 108 in a 12-team Superflex best ball, I'll take DJ Moore, right? Given how we convolute it with all the extra settings. So, like, the edge rushers make this pick really probably more like 106, which is kind of what you're saying is the cutoff where you might just let go of DJ Moore. And then the 509, like, I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but with all the IDP, like, it's not as much of a throw-in as it would have been in a standard 12-team Superflex league. So the reason I'm torn and I don't actually have what I would truthfully go with, I think it's going to get your guy. But I will say with start 4 receivers is the first part that does actually make me at least initially lean DJ Moore. If I have to start 4, right? A lot of these leagues we're starting either 2 or 3. And we say in that format we want 10, 12 receivers. If we're starting 4, like I need 12 legit receivers to get to start 4. That's one piece that does make me at least lean DJ Moore side. The other thing I said this on Destination Dynasty, and I'll say it again here. DJ Moore is one of the guys that did not fit the build. So when we look at teams that either throw a bunch or score a bunch in the NFL, top 10 offenses, DJ Moore fit none of those. They didn't throw top 10. They didn't score top 10. and he had 2 spike weeks. There was only 4 people that did that. They had a team that didn't throw a bunch, didn't score a bunch, and had a spike week, let alone 2 of them. DJ Moore did that. Now he's going to Justin Fields, which I think we can argue is the best passer he's ever had throw him the football.
No question. You don't have to argue it. You could just state it.
Well, I mean, people hate them some Justin Fields. I don't. I love Justin Fields, but
Stop it.
I mean, Michael fight for Sam Darnold, but not to that level, right? I mean,
come on.
I know. I'm messing.
Come on,
which is why I say if he's an alpha, and if we look at teams that are maybe more run heavy but score more, if Chicago takes a step forward, look at Philly. Philly did not actually throw the ball that much, but they scored a bunch. And if he's the alpha in a team led by Justin Fields, I think this is probably even then closer to top dollar. But I'm not going to say I don't get it, man. Like I'm not going to tell you that it's a smash for DJ Moore, because I think Stinzy still could end up winning the value of this trade pretty reasonably. But I understand it. Let me say that. I understand going to get it. I think it's a fair trade. Listen,
it was right after the trade, right? I had to reevaluate where I was on DJ Moore. I still liked him before, as you could tell by the trade show last week. I like him even more now. The problem is, I mean, the wide receivers, once you start getting towards that top 15 at him, it just becomes like this. Oh, I mean, we have the pressure to make diamonds up there because there's so many good ones up there. It's hard to move them up any higher, but I'm with you, man. This is one of these guys we could look back on next year. Not only does he have the youth still, which is crazy to think, right? It feels like he's been in the league forever, but he's still very youthful with the best quarterback he's ever had. Justin Fields is really good at football. I don't care what you say.
And he can throw it, despite people thinking that he can't, right?
We could honestly be looking back at this and going like, why didn't we move him higher?
Right? With the wide receiver push, right? Exactly.
We did this with Stephon Diggs, right? He had a good year in Minnesota. Gets traded to Buffalo, and all of a sudden, Stephon Diggs goes from this fringe wide receiver 2 type to all of a sudden locked and loaded, still wide receiver 1 type. So I could see it, man. I could definitely see it with DJ Moore. So we could look back on this next year and go, man, Zach got one. But where we stand now with what I know about it, which makes it hard because we're adjusting on the fly with this league. We're adjusting on the fly with the warp data and the scoring and everything else. I think I'd take the picks, to be honest. But it's a decent enough deal on the other side. I don't hate it at all for Zach.
The reason I do say that I think it's equal in a good trade is because all that could become true for DJ Moore, right? But if DJ Moore, let's say, has similar production that he's always had, 4 touchdowns, 1,100 yards, and he doesn't actually give you more production, like his dynasty value then with a new face, new quarterback, will not hover in this range of we've seen him be elite despite all this stuff. I think that's the downside of this trade if it doesn't work out. And I don't think there's a scenario where DJ Moore is shitty. That's not happening. No. He can't be. He's been good and above average with every quarterback that's been terrible, right?
If this year is the year he chooses to be shitty with his best quarterback he's ever had,
right? But if he just stays in that same production range, then I think it will come down because it's like, all right, he had Justin Fields, he had a new situation, same stuff, and we can. All the things that keep people down on DJ Moore will become more solid and concrete. So I guess
listen, I'm going to miss that Carolina blue.
I will too, man.
But I might have to run out, and it'll be the first ever Bears jersey I've ever bought. If he's Bears number 2, I might have to.
Zach, there you go. Go ahead and get McNutted a DJ Moore burnt orange, Chicago Bears jersey, right?
Let's go.
All right. So, Mike, we are looking at a new deal here. 12-team Superflex lineup start 10.
What?
Mike, I know, man. I'm just reporting the news. When I saw this, I was as freaked out as you were.
What?
We talk about liquidity. We talk about all this stuff. This is the best deal I've seen 1-for-1 for Pickens. And then you give me the settings, and it's even worse.
Is it Derek G. Pickens on the bottom? Is that the last part of his name? Like, is it George's brother?
I don't. Pickens? That looks like, if I'm not mistaken, that looks like Campbell from the Lions there with the hat and all this. I have no idea what that is, but it's not It's not Pittsburgh in any way, and it's not
like kneecaps.
Dude, I don't.
Listen,
explain
man,
this one to me, man. Explain
all Castle Black does is just win trades and win giveaways. That's all he does.
He's got a rabbit foot up his ass, right?
He's won the YouTube giveaway. He wins all these Discord giveaways, all these Patreon giveaways that we do. That's another thing about the Patreon. Patreon.com/South Harmon. Boom. Got to plug in. 107 for George Pickens. Adam, in a best ball, it'd be fleecing. And I'm more inclined to like send firsts in best ball.
Agreed.
Right? Because it's not as difficult, right? I would say they're not worth as much because I'm really just trying to buy bodies. I'm trying to get the right roster construction. That's more important at the time. In lineup, I got to push the damn button on this guy every single week. This isn't like a George Pickens thing, but there's no way in hell he's worth the 107 in a Superflex. Like if you told me this was a 12-team, one quarterback league, the 107 or GP, I'm doing the math in my head. I take away 4 quarterbacks. You got the 2 running backs. You got Jackson, Smith, and Jigba. And then maybe if you wanted to have the conversation about George Pickens as being like the next guy off the board, I think that would be fair. I think it would be. Or even if you wanted him as the wide receiver 1 of this class, that's a fair conversation. But in a Superflex league and a start 10, holy Santa Claus shit.
Yeah, see,
Black killed this.
I think what's going on here, though, let me just say this, because I'm in some lineup start 10s as well as start 9s, and I think what's happening, right? So think about what's going on in the market. So what you have is a quarterback room in this class, at least, right? The 4 quarterbacks all showed well, right? So they all got an arrow up. But what you have is Bijan, and then you got Jahmyr Gibbs, who I think did enough, but him checking in at 199, couldn't just get that extra pound, have people enough of a panic, right? Which is wild to me. But then you have like JSN, he goes out and kills the shuttle. I mean, nukes it, right?
Elite,
but doesn't run the 40. And then the fact that
he's slow.
Right. So there's this panic. My point is, this market, the receiver is dominant, right? You have quarterback and receiver that dominate a lineup league. And what you have in this class is basically panic that none of them are good. And I think that's what this trade is, right? This person's like, at this point, which is, I think, foolish, but at this point is like, I'm going to miss the quarterbacks. I'm going to miss Bijan. I don't want to just take my chance on these receivers. I want Pickens. I think that's what happens, man. It's the only way I can negotiate in my head how this is possible. I'm not going to say it's right, but I'm just trying to give context as to what's going on in the class.
Listen, and this is coming from guys who, both you and I, admittedly, I would say with some of the stuff we've seen out there on George Pickens, we're probably higher on the spectrum of community on
Agreed.
GP. Like I'm not going to dunk on the guy, right? I actually rank him fairly high. I like GP, and I think there's a real connection with him and Kenny Pickett. It hurts me to say with the Deontay Johnson love that I have, but I think there's a realistic scenario. We look back next year and go, man, GP is the number 1. Like, Deontay's kind of become an afterthought. Like, I like George Pickens. There's no way in hell I'd do this, man. There's no way in hell. I'd send you maybe the 112. Maybe. And that's me being generous. Like,
JB was on the AMA last week talking about it with me, and I was like, he said I would take 112 over Pickens. I was like, I kind of get you. I think that's about my breaking point. Like, late first, 110, 111, 112. If you tell me you believe in Pickens, you want to go ahead and do it. For me, the way I trade and negotiate, I just know that I'd rather have liquidity, which appeals more to other managers. And for example, let me give you a quick reason why I say this. So I tend to be a guy that hoards picks, and I'll have 3, 4, 5. Mike can attest to this. I have 12 even in the first round, right? So the reason I say that, though, is it means something. Because in a league like this, right, like there was a trade I did on here weeks ago in a start 9 where – what did I send away? I send away all those firsts. If you come with 5 first, actual liquid first to someone, right? That gets you in Mahomes' conversation. Whether it should or shouldn't, right? Like all of a sudden people will start talking if you send them 5 liquid first. But if you send someone a deal for Mahomes and it's George Pickens, Treylon Burks, all these guys that are supposedly first-round values, but it's not liquid first, that doesn't get you to the table.
Right.
And the reason is it's liquidity that doesn't have names, and it's a first-round pick, and there's so many outs and things you can do with that pick. That's why I lean Pickens even on a late first. But this, a mid-first, the panic is stupid, man. Like, Castle Black, I'm getting you off the screen because that's just I guess he does. He wins everything, doesn't he?
He does.
It's just there's nothing left to say. So, all right, man. Here we go. This one was I'll be honest. This one here, Mike, had some discourse in the Discord in our trade show. So, curious your thoughts. We are looking at the 104 in Jalen Waddle being acquired by M. Armstrong 119 for Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs. Mike, what do you say here, buddy? Because this is a lineup start 9. So, again, remove the best ball roots and think about lineup, right? Man.
I'm taking Tyreek over Jalen Waddle.
Agreed.
But I know that's not the sentiment of the community. Okay.
No, I'm with you, though.
Diggs or the 104. This is tough because
lineup start 9 is very tough.
This is tough because it's close. Like if I'm good at quarterback, Adam, and I'm not building for the future, and I'm going, I'm going for it this year. I want Diggs, man. I want Diggs, Tyreek.
Here we are. What the hell is third? You see, everybody listening.
Team wide receivers rise up. Let's go.
Mike will build a contender this time of year. You just have to get him the right deal. Mike, here's the thing. I think this one what's so troublesome, right? Is I think the 104 convolutes it because it's a quarterback.
Correct.
And in lineup start 9, those are impossible to come by.
Correct.
But think about this for a second. Let's say in lineup start 9, you had Stephon Diggs and Tyreek Hill, and you're a contender. I know it seems sexy because you maybe get Bryce Young or Stroud or A-Rich, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's no way you're letting go of those 2 elite receivers that could be massive difference makers for Bryce Young and probably his rookie year that isn't going to do anything for you in Jalen Waddle, the beta of the offense.
Yeah.
Right?
Adam, if you're looking at this right now, I don't even know what the hell his third wide receiver is. I assume, like most start 9s, it's 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 1 flex spot.
It's either that way or it's 2 receivers and 2 flexes.
2 flex.
Right.
But it doesn't matter, man. If it's 3 wide receivers, I don't even care who the hell his third wide receiver is. Do you know of a better wide receiver room in the league?
Well, but no. But here's the thing. I think there's a very real scenario, as good as Jefferson and as good as Chase are, that these 2 could finish 1 and 2.
Easily. And I love Chase and Jefferson.
Right.
Chase has never finished 1 or 2, so we can just
Chase finishing 1 or 2 probably needs a T. Higgins departure for volume to come up, right?
Or just never to miss time, I guess.
and to catch every touchdown coming his way from Burrow, right? But I'm not going to say Chase can't be that. My point more so is that as great as those 2 are, like these guys still on a yearly basis are in wide receiver 1 overall conversation. And in lineup start 9, that means a lot, man.
I mean, we just did receivers with Scott Connor as far as best ball goes. Now, this is lineup, but still some of these principles apply to lineup. I mean, we're talking like spike weeks. Tyreek Hill had 6 of them. Stephon Diggs had 3 of them, right? And these are very rare to find receivers with multiple spike weeks, right? We're talking to guys with a combined 9, and they both make the top part of our list as far as best ball goes. Like Diggs comes in as wide receiver 7, Tyreek's wide receiver 2. Like it's an elite wide receiver core that he's getting here. I am with you though. The 104 is the part that makes it hard, right? If I'm Broads to Bully T up top and I'm not competing, what better package could I get off of for, right?
Well, that's
I get an asset in Jalen Waddle who's young and people really cover it. I think he might be overvalued, but it doesn't matter. I'm just looking at value. And I get a 104, a chance to maybe find that franchise quarterback for my team for the future. But if I'm Armstrong and I don't need the quarterback and it's a start 9 and I want to load up right now and people are high on the 104, Would I have tried to let it marinate a little bit and see if I could have got it cheaper? 100%. Tried to play the whole Tyreek's old, Stephon Diggs is old, blah, 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 talk him down. But hot damn, what a wide receiver room Armstrong's got going into next year.
See, I think this I put these trades in order in specific events because, Mike, I think this trade especially kind of goes to the point you made about the trade I made about Russell Wilson for a 25 first. And the reason I say that is, right, Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs, if you own them, if these are your receivers and you have decided it's time to reset, this is not the time to trade them. It's just not. The market's bad on these guys, right? Because age is only going to push for, 4 months more? Like, I'll say this. I don't actually know. Like, because these are aging receivers that you have to find a specific buyer for, I'm not sure you get more than this. But I would be curious, and I would probably at this point have tried to held out for a little more. I get it, though. I understand it. You're thinking I'm resetting the age with Waddle. Similar dynasty market as Hill, but I'm getting youthful, right? And the 104 versus Diggs, as much as I love Diggs, like I'm trying to get off of his age and just get a quarterback, which is going to be, the third quarterback off the board. I get it. It's a good reset, but I just think if I have Diggs and Hill and I'm going to package them, I think I might have asked for something more. So, and I think if I can't get it right now, same thing as the 25 first, I might have just see if I could push it forward a little more to when Diggs and Hill, their value bumps up a little more. So that's my only
excited. I've caught rookie fever. That's why I'm too excited about the 104.
I know, but that's normal. That's why I think like I might have just let me just hold off. This deal will be there. You. If this is Bryce Young and Jalen, for example, if this is Bryce Young and Jalen Waddle, and it's Bryce Young may not even start week 1, right? And it's August. Right. We're having a different conversation. So just there you go. Anyway, all right, let's move on. 10-team Superflex PPR lineup start 10. Mike, curious this one, man. There's a couple trades here in the middle that are tough because Najee, right? Unbelievable rookie year. Kind of banged up last year. Didn't have the greatest year. He finished strong. Because it's lineup start 10, like, I'll be honest, Gesicki for me, I'm not going to let Dawson Knox thing happen again. Like, we can just go ahead and eliminate the Gesicki part, right? Like, we're not going to let Dawson Knox get in the way of us again for a week. 110 or Najee Harris. What is your thoughts, man?
Yeah, Gesicki's just a whatever. In a 10-team start 10, he's just a
he's a fly on the wall, right?
I mean, we did the best ball tight end. Like, that's a dude that I take in a 10-team start 10 best ball, but it's going to be one of like 9 tight ends that I take, just trying to find one worth of shit.
And in a 10-team too, especially, I think what's notable or should be noted is it makes the team that you're going to present to the starting lineup got to be even higher to win because there's less teams, right?
I will say this with confidence. I'm definitely taking Najee Harris over the 110.
Interesting. Interesting.
I want liquidity.
What about the liquidity life?
But not for this, man. I'm good. I'll take Najee over this all day.
Well, let me ask you this then, real quick, because I think this is an interesting conversation. 110 seems to be a spot where, like, Charbonnet just lives, right?
Yes.
So, like, given what we know about the running back market, Najee, being he, is going to be year 3 versus Zach Charbonnet. This is if you have to make the pick, by the way. You want Najee over Charbonnet for sure.
We pray Zach Charbonnet becomes anything close to what Najee Harris has already done.
Agreed. No, that's not for debate because Najee was great in his rookie season, but the way that the market works, right? Year 3 running backs and rookie running backs have a totally different market, correct?
Correct, but there's also a scenario where Zach Charbonnet just becomes a whatever, right? And then his value's in the shitter. Okay,
so let's say then, right? Let's say if you're
shitter faster than Najee, even going into year 4 or 5. You know what I mean? Like,
but I'm not going to really argue that. I think if I knew my league and I could trade rookie fever, and I had to make the pick, I could argue Charbonnet. Otherwise, if I'm going to ride them into next year, it's not close. Where I think it becomes convoluted is what can I do with Najee Harris in a trade and what can I do with 110 in a trade, right? And I think that's where the conversation is actually more interesting because I'm with you. If you told me you're going to make the pick, we're going to be in next season, I'll just take Najee. You can have Gesicki too. But 110, what can I trade it for? And Najee, what can I trade it for? I don't know if those things are the same.
The problem is like when you get into these 10-team leagues too, and
everyone wants to up here. Yeah.
When these smaller starting lineups start 10, like really, what is the 110 worth? Like to us, we always think about 12 teams or we think about best ball leagues. Like depth is so important. Like the 110 holds a lot of value. And some of these smaller teams, man, people are just looking at it going, man, whatever.
Yeah,
like
sure.
maybe I could start this one day. Like we look at it in a lot of our leagues. Like if you got the 110 in some of our leagues, Adam, I know it's not right to do, but you're like, man, you plug in Zach Charbonnet into my flex. All right, we start.
Let's go.
In this kind of league format, there's nobody. If you're plugging Zach Charbonnet into your flex from the day one that you draft him without knowing anything, you're going, shit. Shit. I got to compete with somebody who's got Austin Eckler in his flex.
Now, can I tell you the big piece of this trade, which I was hoping you would catch on to? Might be kind of hard to see it. I know you're hip to this too.
What's the fact that he's cupped these nuts?
Well, that's a good one because it is. But no, if you look in the upper left corner, we got a Mike Tomlin, What's happening here, man? If I'm Ian Martin 6'10", Najee Harris price, the price of the brick went up, man. The price of the brick went up, So I think that's a lot of what's happening here. But Alavi 906, I forget his name in Discord. I think it's Kong Strong or something like that. But I think that's a good trade given the format. Honestly, I think it's close. I'll take Najee though, but I do think you should have gotten upcharged just because everybody knows what you're trying to do here with
we needed Dawson Knox thrown in on the other side.
That's what it was. Dawson Knox and Gesicki are the same thing, right? 12-team. Oh man, Goat Rings makes the trade show again. We had to put him back. 12-team, 2-quarterback, full PPR lineup, start 11. Mike, curious your thoughts here because when I look at this, right? So we're looking at Dak Prescott, Jameson Williams, and the 209. Okay. Now, given it's only start 11, is where it's interesting because you and I both, Big Black Scooby, which these two trade more than Mike and I have ever traded. And Mike and I have made a lot of trades, right?
Yes.
But the thing that's interesting about this is I think Lamar and Dak are decent enough in a start 11 lineup league apart to where I want Lamar by a good margin. Here's the question. In start 11, like Claypool to me is becoming, I could give a crap less. Like, yeah, you can have some Claypool. So now I guess the question is if we just remove him from really the discussion, because he's probably Scott Connor's roster clogger territory at this point, especially given that DJ Moore's over there now. 209 and Jameson Williams, is that enough to close the gap between Lamar and Dak for 7 Goat Rings?
Market would say yes. For me, I say no.
Mike would say no. Are you hold on. Hold on. Let's just, before we get into the details of what Mike just said, are you trying to explain to me that you would take the opposite side of a 7 Goat Rings trade on our show?
Finally.
No. Erroneous. Erroneous on both accounts. Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Listen, Lamar hate has gone too far.
This is close. This is close. I'm with you, though.
The Lamar hate has gone too far. Way too far. Dak is good, too, man. It's not even Dak's bad at quarterback, but he's like QB 10, 11, 12 in some
Dynasty value? Or
yeah.
Dynasty value is even worse, man. It's like quarterback 12, yeah.
I don't know how that's possible with Tua and Kyler, but okay.
I can tell you how, but we'll get to that in a later point.
Listen, man, I got Lamar in a tier, so we kind of tease the rankings, right? But I have him in a tier with a couple other quarterbacks, Fields, Lawrence, and Deshaun Watson. And that tier is so interesting to me because especially with like Lamar, and T-Law, I would say they're a lot closer to the tier above them, like talking about Hurts and Burrow and Josh Allen, than they are to the tier below them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, it does feel like a fairly sizable difference.
Can I tell you that Dak Prescott, real quick, is quarterback 13 on Keep Trade Cut?
Who the?
Do you want to hear who's ahead?
Anthony Richardson?
Close, but not the right rookie. Two rookies are ahead.
CJ Stroud.
And Bryce Young.
And
so CJ's 9, Bryce is 10, Kyler's 11.
Okay, that's just mad disrespectful.
And Deshaun Watson's 12.
That's mad disrespectful.
And then Dak is 13, and literally the player right behind him in the same tier is A-Rich.
Dak is very good.
So Dak by Keep Trade Cut standards is basically a couple clicks away from quarterback 14.
But man, I want the Lamar side, man. I just think Lamar is so damn elite.
I do too. In 2 quarterback lineup start 10, I think is close. Go ahead. You were gonna say something about people forget what?
People forget. Like a couple years ago, he broke fantasy football. That's how damn good he was.
Let me ask you this.
We've never seen a quarterback put up that many fantasy points ever in the history of our lives. Lamar Jackson did it, and we're a couple like poop games and a bad contract situation with his team away from remembering how elite he was.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room then. We'll do a Lamar hone. So, non-exclusive franchise tag, right? So, $32 million. He has basically the ability to negotiate a deal with other teams.
Right.
And the Ravens can come back and basically say, any deal that's on the table, we will match it. And if we 100%. Don't want to match it, he's yours, and we get your first 2 draft picks in 23 and 24. So, I think I'll be honest, man. I think a lot of the stuff around Lamar is surfacing around this. Because there's fear, because a lot of teams have already talked like we're out of the Lamar discussion. And I think there's fear for people that he'll end up back in Baltimore and hold out.
Is that the truth though? Like if you're
I don't know I don't believe that he's going to hold out. I'm just telling you, I think people are really fearful of that.
Why do you
given he hasn't played in the playoffs the last 2 seasons.
If you're an NFL team though, why would you be like, "Oh, we're so in on Lamar"? Why would you want multiple teams going like, "We're so in on Lamar"? Because when you go to his agent to negotiate with him, you want the best deal for your team. You want to.
Do you know who his agent is?
Himself and his mom.
His mother. There you go. So It's basically himself. But I think that's part of what convolutes it. And I'm with you, by the way. I also think that I don't know what's happening behind closed doors, obviously. I don't think there's a world where Lamar's like, I'm not playing football next year. And I don't actually think that Baltimore wants to let him go. I think that Baltimore is basically like, we're not giving you a guaranteed contract unless you show us someone else will give you one.
And then we're in.
Right, right. Exactly. We'll and I think what's crazy is people are like, oh, you gave him the non-exclusive. The only way that he can go see if someone will give him a guaranteed contract is to give him that offer. If they did the exclusive, he doesn't even have the chance. I think Lamar will end up back in Baltimore when it's all said and done. I don't know how that works out for him and his feelings and everything going on. I'm still willing to bet on the guy that has elite rushing upside, has shown very good passing upside. As much as I like Dak, he doesn't run anymore. Like ever since that last foot injury, those days are over. I'm on record not being a big Jameson guy. In start 11 lineup, I'm cool for going that. In the 209, I like seconds, but I will send those 2 pieces in addition to Dak for Lamar. Even here. Sorry, 7 Goat Rings, man. We brought you back on the trade show just to tell you. I will say this, like, it's not a bad deal. No, it's not a bad deal. Like, there's a scenario where the top side, 7 Goat Ring side, works out better.
Right. Maybe Jameson Williams is actually really good at football.
Yeah, maybe. And maybe at 209 you end up drafting, next year's Dameon Pierce. Like, there's 100% that could work out better. Who? Yeah, Stop but it. Anyway, 7 Goat Rings, I think it's the most reasonable deal you send into the show, and well done. All right, let's talk startup trades, Mike. 12-team Superflex lineup, start 10, startup. All right, interesting. So we are looking at the 109, the 504, and the 904 going to Dr. B. Harris. He's sending away 212, 312, 401. What I can tell you, speaking of Lamar, the reason I've had these all queued up in order for a reason. We just talked Lamar. 109 became Lamar. Yeah. He already has Mahomes.
Oh, my God. There's no question about this. Dr. B. Harris killed this, man. This is what I dream of doing every startup. Adam, you know, we've had this conversation. We had it with Scott where we were talking about in best ball. I'm a little bit more hesitant on sending my 2, my 3, and my 4 to move up to get a quarterback. And Scott talked about it. He was like, well, you just make it the 3 for 3 when we did the QB exercise, right? Even if you're getting a 10, 11, and a 12 back. Like, I'm good with that. I'd do that. This is the dream, man. This is the dream. I send you my 2, my 3, and my 4. I get your first to get another top 8 quarterback. But not only on that, I'm not getting some dog shit picks back. I'm not getting a 10th. I'm not getting an 11th. I'm not getting a 12th. I'm getting a 5th. And I'm getting a 9th. Like, I'm doing the 3 for 3, but it's 2 really good rounds.
The thing that makes it really interesting to me, right, is that the way I look at this, like 401 and 504 are different. But if I'm talking about going from the end of the second to elite quarterback territory,
big deal.
That's huge. 504 and 401 cancel out to me, honestly, in a lineup league like this. Yeah. So now it's basically I go from the 312 to the 904. First and foremost, I will send the 212 and the 312 for the 109 and the 904 in a heartbeat.
No question about it.
The 504 and the 401 is not getting in the way of this at all. That's so minimal of a difference to me in a lineup league like this. Like, this is a smash. It's not close.
This is a dream.
This is a dream. It was a dream. Yeah, it was all a dream.
It was all a dream.
Yeah. So nice job, Dr. B. Harris. Way to bring up the fizzle line. So all right, the Who's, man. The Who's, we're doing startup trades for a minute here, Mike. 12-team Superflex PPR, start 11. Now, start 11, but this time it's best ball. Another startup.
This is more what I was just talking about. So sorry to do the spoiler. I will send my 2, 3, and 4, but I want a 1, like a 9, a 10, 11. Like, I want a 3 for 3, but I want something in the top 12 rounds. I want 2 of those picks back. He didn't send his 4. He sent his 5th.
I mean, 412 and 501 are the same thing.
And it's still not like he's just getting any generic top 8 quarterback. He's getting the second one. This is the second one. QB2, his choice. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts,
Joe Burrow. Like, it doesn't matter.
Justin Herbert, if that's his dude, whatever. Doesn't matter. He's getting that dude. Damn.
Yeah, this is how you exploit the best ball difference, right? Because here I think is the big thing. If this trade that Dan has, the Who says 102, and it's 201, 301, and 501, that's where we start to have like, I still probably want the 102, but I don't know if I want to do this, right? 911 and 1002, like, you can basically solidify enough of a base in best ball to make that totally negated. It's just the reality, man. Let me ask you this, Mike, real quick. 201, 301, 501 for 102. Let's remove the 1002. 102 and 911 for 201, 301, and 501. You in or you out?
Listen, I don't hate this one. What Who's did was give up the turn in a third-round reversal, right? Because that's why he's got the 201 and the 301 that he's sending away. Mm-hmm. Right? Which is, Adam, you know how much we love that in best ball too. Mm-hmm. But damn, I love quarterbacks. I love quarterbacks. You take out the 9, the 10 on it, and I got to give a 2, 3, and a 5. The 201, 301, 501 for the 102. I'm probably telling you to get bent. Like, I'm good. I'll just sit here and make. What if it's the
10th is gone though? What if it's 102 and 911 for the 201, 301, and 501?
Maybe I might tell you to screw off, but I do really want one of those top quarterbacks. But the beauty about picking in, well, I'll pick it up when I continue doing the startup series that I've been doing. When we get to these back end picks, especially in third round reversals. The beauty is that's one of the only picks there when you're at the end. You got the 112, the 201, and the 301. You're one of the only people that can get 2 elite quarterbacks, 2 top 12 quarterbacks, potentially 2 top 10 quarterbacks, and not have to trade a damn thing. Correct. Not ever have to trade a damn thing. So very, very interesting that he went with this. But, you know, if I get another guy, I mean, those top guys are just different, man. Patrick Mahomes probably went 101. I would hope so. And if he didn't, then, I mean, you're taking your choice of Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, whatever you decide to do. I'm cool with it, and especially because he got the 9th and the 10th back. If you took those two out, if you took them both out, I think I might lean the other side. Like, I'd want that, but the way it's constructed right now in a best ball league, give me the 9th and the 10th all day and the elite quarterback.
I'm with you. All right. So here's a good one, Mike. 12-team Superflex, 1.5 tight end premium lineup league. I don't know how many starters. I wish I would have had that. But here's the conversation. 104, which basically it's either going to be – it's most likely the third quarterback off the board, right? Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson. Are you comfortable in a lineup league liquidating that for 2 24s and a 24-second?
Yeah, right now I just kicked the can down the road for this price, right? It's not one. I'm not banking on this team being bad. It's not just a first and a second, right? It's 2 firsts, and then you get a second thrown in on top of it. Like, we really hope, like, our best case scenario for some of these quarterbacks, I like this class. But, like, if at the end of the year you tell me Bryce Young is worth 2 firsts and a second, I'd be like, he must have had a good year.
Right.
Must be.
Right.
He's probably not worth 3 firsts. None of these guys are probably worth 3 firsts this time next year, unless they just have some crazy year. Anthony Richardson comes out and resets the rushing record, right? Has like a Cam Newton type rookie. Which he might. I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility, but you have to have a fantastic year to be worth this time next year. He's getting it already without even seeing these guys play where their landing spots are. I'm good. I'll just pivot right now.
You know what this reminds me a lot of? Trey Lance. This was the Trey Lance price. And everyone was sure, man. Best landing spot. All the guys are there, the system. Right? And he got to sit a year. Like, I like that. Jimmy G will be the bridge.
Right.
And then Trey Lance played a game and a half and got hurt. And then Brock Purdy, who Mike loves, became a thing.
Stop it.
And then now all of a sudden, like, your 2 firsts and a second for Trey Lance is a miserable trade. Even if Trey Lance becomes what we think he could be. Like, that's top dollar for him in the best case scenario now, right? I think what I like the most, though, Mike, is when I look at this, right? So it's TC, and then we're via CIPP, SIP. I don't see his picks in here, and I think that Costi, seeing the deals that he makes, this is now his third 24 that he's picked up, and I think what I'm seeing is a leverage piece built into already the price that I'm seeing right now, which to me leans even more to that side, given that 24 has a bunch of chances to give you really good quarterbacks. So,
man, you think about if he just did this every year for the next couple of years, right? He trades a 104. Maybe he gets the 104 next year, and it's a quarterback or a running back that somebody likes. Or maybe it's even better. Maybe let's say it's the 102. It doesn't have to be the 101, but it's the other one out of Drake May or Caleb Williams, or maybe Quinn Ewers makes an appearance again, and he's trading that pick all of a sudden for 2 firsts and a second.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's taken now 1 pick and he's multiplied it into 4 firsts. Right? He just keeps it coming, keeps it going, and all of a sudden he goes from potentially just having the 104 to now having enough ammunition to go, like, Patrick Mahomes is still the best damn quarterback in the league. Here's 4 firsts in a couple seconds. Ta-da! And a couple years down the road, he just walked himself into QB1. Congratulations.
Thanks for Patty. Thanks for Josh Allen. Thanks for Jalen Hurts. Whatever you decide your flavor is, you'll buy it.
Asset multiplication.
Yep. It's like the ABCs. It's what we do here on 4D. So, Mike, all right. New patron in the building.
What is with these Lamar deals?
And this is why I wanted to have all these on here in the way that they were. Right now, what would you rather see on the thumbnail? Lamar or Russ?
Give me Lamar.
Lamar
Lamar
will be.
The people want to see Lamar. Nobody want to see Russ
They want to
cooking.
see Lamar. All right. Well, Russ cooking that's a burnt kitchen, man. It's over, right?
That's ramen with, like,
you saw what he was traded for, 201 and a 25 first. I mean, he is cooked.
Hey, man, ain't nobody want to see Russ cook. Ain't nobody want to see that. We want to see Lamar. Right.
Yeah, nobody wants to see Russ cooking. So let me ask you this trade here. We got Dak Prescott and Jalen Waddle for Treylon Burks and Lamar Jackson. 12 team, Superflex, half PPR, lineup start 10. What do you think here, Mike?
Man, we should have 2 thumbnails, right? We should be like Lamar versus Dak because we've had this trade twice.
I know, man. I pulled them in specific ideas. Curious your thoughts here because this one tugs because of the difference in Treylon and Waddle, man. Honestly, it's a big difference.
This one tugs because of the difference of the community value between Treylon and Waddle.
That and production. Agreed.
In production, yes. I'm not going to sit here and act like Jalen Waddle's never done anything. He's actually done. I think he's overvalued, and I think Treylon's undervalued, but Lamar's so damn good. We just had this conversation. Actually, I think with this one, just knowing the sentiment, man, if I had a good feel on my league mates, I'm probably going Dak and Waddle.
I agree. I hate to say this.
The totality of the package is better.
I hate to say this for Space Enfield on his first trade here on the trade show, but I get what you're doing, right? And I will say this. In a lineup start 10, if you're going to overpay, I'm okay if you do it at quarterback. I think the problem here is the gap in quarterback didn't make sense. Like if you told me you overpaid by a lot and you didn't have a quarterback and you got Lamar, cool. But you have Dak already, right? Like it's not like you're out of the quarterback market. You know what I mean? Like if you trade too much liquid assets or too many players to get Lamar, like I get what you're doing. Lineup start 10, you need quarterbacks. You got 2 elite ones. I just don't think the difference from Dak to Lamar warrants a top. The way you and I view it is irrelevant. This league, the way most people view it, is a top 8 wide receiver.
Right.
For Treylon, who is in a situation where Tannehill's still throwing the football, not high passing, not high scoring. It's too much of a gap given the market and wide receiver, I think. And it's interesting because at least it shows people, everyone watching that's not your trades, like where the differences might lie between the two of these quarterbacks.
Adam, I will say this though, in my portfolio, right? If this deal came up most of the time, I'm going to say I want the Dak Waddle side. But if I had already done one like this, or I already have this side, I could see there being a case where I try to diversify and I'd want the other side, right? I'll take the Lamar Treylon. I'm going, Lamar is criminally undervalued. All the arguments I made about them the last time. And Treylon, I think he's better, and I think, Jalen Waddle's overvalued. So this isn't criminal in any way, but just kind of knowing the market and like what people are doing, the difference between Waddle and Burks is pretty massive for a lot of people.
I think that's where, like, if you wanted to take that other side and take the Treylon upside swing, I would actually need another piece, though. Like, give me another second round piece. Yeah, exactly. I think that's what separates this deal. Because in lineup start 10, Waddle is one of these guys that forget what we think about the player, Mike, you and I. Waddle, we think he's overvalued. I don't care what the team is. We're going to set him in our wide receiver 2 spot at minimum, maybe wide receiver 1 in the flex. Treylon Burks is going to be someone we kind of think every single week, right?
Until we see it, yes.
Like that in lineup start 10 is where the edges are won a lot of times, man.
Yes.
So
just that confidence to go in and not have to worry about it.
And the other thing, too, is Waddle also has a trade market that is booming in 10-team lineup leagues. So the downgrading quarterback, but then if I can, like, disperse Waddle into stuff or help him get into a different asset, I think I'd need at least a second on the top side. I get it, though, man. You're going for Lamar. You believe in him. I'm not going to say the trade can't work out for you, but I just wouldn't have wanted to pay this is the best way I could put that. So, last one, man. We are looking at a 12-team Superflex lineup start 9. Lindsay got Kirk Cousins and a 24 first. Now I got another question. Does Dak have a chance to make the thumbnail? I hope the answer is no. I hope the answer is no, because you love some Eagles and hate some Cowboys. But the question here is, here's the question. Lineup start 9, 12-team. The reason I really like I would say, well, what do you think of the trade as a whole first?
You know how much I love to down tier, man. Like get people in the similar range. There's definitely a clear separation between Dak and Kirk Cousins. Okay, there's no way in hell I'll ever take Kirk Cousins before I take Dak Prescott in any startup. I'll never pay more in an auction for Kirk Cousins than I would for Dak. Dak is very good. I think it's criminal what people are doing. Even with the games he missed last year, I mean, he still came in on our best ball sheet as like QB 15, which is pretty damn impressive. Now, Kirk Cousins has criminally been underrated, right?
Right.
Just because he can't perform in primetime games or playoff games or whatever the hell it is, doesn't matter. He still plays well for fantasy football. This one's really tough for me. But I think I'm gonna take Lindsay's Kirk Cousins in 24 first, and I'm gonna make the bet against whoever the hell Lucas P. Denny is.
I'm glad you said that.
That pick's gonna be good. Like I'm willing to make that bet. I'm gonna go down a tier in quarterback, but you're gonna give me a first, and I'm gonna write out the fact that hey, you know, I think your pick's gonna be good. Might be Caleb Williams, might be Drake May, might be Travion Henderson or Marvin Harrison Jr. in a class that I like. And I see here you got it written. This is the 5th, 24 first. Hashtag leverage, baby. Hashtag leverage.
So the leverage point is big. But here's the thing, right? Okay. So one thing I know is that she put in the chat, which I hadn't told you yet because I wanted to hear what you said. This was the 105 and 23.
Oh.
So it's a team that's kind of worth betting against, right? Not dumpster fire, but like
it was already middle of the road, right? It was already.
So let me take away your first.
Now, your flexibility in season.
Exactly, and lineup start 9 big. Now here I think is a point that I've learned a lot in running backs that I think still applies in this range of quarterbacks. So let me ask you this, Mike: the difference in Dak and Kirk. What is the difference in Dak and Kirk in dynasty value? Like, why does that exist? In your mind?
Youth, I guess.
Youth?
Sex appeal as far as the offense
sex
goes.
appeal, and then also that Dak has been at one point a top 5, right?
Right. He has been like a top 3 option at quarterback before, right?
Where Kirk has never been that. Now, here's the thing. Why was Dak at one point a top 5 guy? He actually had some rushing floor and rushing upside and touchdowns in the rushing department.
He actually moved a little bit.
You know what doesn't happen anymore with Dak?
He doesn't run.
So guess what? The truth is, Mike, that the production in these two players is almost identical, right?
Yeah.
And what they are now, to your point, the difference is age, 29 and 34. Now, that does matter. Like, Dak maybe has 3 more years as a back-end quarterback 1 that Kirk maybe doesn't. But for what we're trying to do in lineup start 9, put points on the board, right? So the crazy part about this is before I even know the leverage, I think what's smart is betting against a team that's not that great, taking away their flexibility, and getting similar production at quarterback, which in this landscape is really tough to do because there's not that many options to do so, right? Like if you're going to down tier from Dak, you got to go to like Kirk Cousins, maybe Russell Wilson. Like it gets sketchy how far you can go down. So if I'm going to get into the range that's meaningful and then pick up a first, that's where I'm on board. The fact then, not only is this a team worth betting against, but you have 5 of them. So let's say even Lucas ends up flukily being a playoff team. You would now have 4 other firsts, which give you better chances to now, if this is Kirk Cousins and not even this pick, another pick that's Caleb Williams, Drake May, Marvin Harrison Jr., like you already talked about, stop, man. This is absolute criminal activity. So I think what I like is the process, right? Understanding the scarcity in lineup start 9, people wanting to up tier, but just going ahead and hoarding the 24 first. I think that's where Lindsay crushes this deal. So
listen, man, she's after both of our hearts because she's got the tear down and then she's got the pick hoard, right?
Exactly.
Just getting all the assets. She's doing everything. I love it. Lindsay Mack killed it. Lindsay Mack killed it.
Lindsay Mack killed it.
On the trade show, she's doing everything right. 1 that I love to do, 2 that you love to do is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think that puts an end to possibility of Dak Prescott being on the
So it's
sorry.
Well, I think
Lamar.
we go Lamar. Yeah, but I think also Mike likes the fact that once again Dallas gets teared down from, and it's a win, which Mike has seen over and over. So good trade, Lindsay. Appreciate everyone submitting your trades, everyone tapping in. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. Mike, I thought these were another series of great trades, man. They keep coming in waves.
They were fantastic. They were fantastic. None of them too big of a blowouts other than the ones you started with. I don't know what the hell's going on with Russell Wilson. But again, we said
that's
it earlier.
That's why I'm saying.
Hey, go sniff around, man. I'm going to go sniff around on Russ. Even with some of the patrons, I want to see if they got some hard convictions on Russ. If I can get this done. Listen, I don't want to build contenders in March, but if I could buy Russ for a 25 first, I'll be all over it, man. You can have my first. Good luck. I'll figure it out. I got 2 years to figure out how not to make that first good for you.
And like you said, you could even probably add something that was meaningful to the other manager and make it still worth it for you. So, yeah, I thought this was some good trades. Make sure you're sniffing around on Russ. Just test the manager. See if it's worth it. Kirk Cousins is another one that, down tier wise makes sense. But man, I thought these were some good trades. So really happy to do the Dynasty Trade Show again this week. Again, if you want your deals featured on this show, patreon.com/South Harmon. $1 a month gets you in the door. You can post your trades in the Shithead Trades channel. There's all kinds of other things going on in there. A bunch of over 130 managers that are tapped in, daily communicating, talking Dynasty. There's our rankings. There's voice chats with us. There's the Savage semester we do once a week with the upper tier. All kinds of stuff going on over there. So if you want your deals featured, make sure you check that out. If not, no worries. Make sure you are at least subscribing to the channel. If you're new, if you thought this was valuable, leave us a comment. Even if you don't subscribe, tell us why we were terrible. Tell us where we went wrong on our reviews and all that. Like it for us. But that's all I got, Mike.
Man, that's all I got too. It's so good getting to do these with you. It really stinks that I'm on nights. I've been missing out on the AMA, but we got a remedy for it. If you're watching this will be on Saturday, so the following Sunday, the day after, tomorrow, when you're watching this, check in. We're going to be doing the AMAs on Sundays. Going forward, just kind of in the temporary, giving it a try. That way I can make it, and Adam doesn't have to keep getting guests. Even though the guests are phenomenal.
Killing it, man.
Great. Yeah. I know the people. They want to see me. They want to see me back.
Plus,
and I want to be back in the worst way. Oh
plus, we all miss Mike. And then plus, think about in about a week and a day from now, how big that beard's going to be. You see it growing? Look at it. It's already coming. It's coming in strong. So, yeah, make sure you're tapping into that.
For those of you who have ever watched Little Giants, what is it? Spike? His dad massages his hamstrings with buttermilk. That's what I've been doing to my beard. I massage it every night before I go to buttermilk.
I like what I'm hearing, man. So yeah, we appreciate everyone tapping in. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. We will see you back here, same time, same place next week for the Dynasty Trade Show. We are out of this thing. Peace.
Peace.